Hey, this is Zoe Flynn. I'm with Music Radar. We are in my bedroom studio in London, going through bits of equipment, showing how I start ideas, and running through how I use some of this gear. And yeah, hope you enjoy. Hope you enjoy? What do I say at the end? So I spend a lot of my time record shopping and looking for certain samples, and one of the things I look for is breaks in a lot of like African music or South American music, just because they're so interesting, I think, rhythmically. So yeah, this is one which I know has a break on it, so I'm just going to go through the process of like basically sampling it now, and like what I know there's little bits at the beginning, so I'll just press record on Ableton. I'll just basically listen to it, but there's like exposed nice drums here, which is cool. So this can be used in loads of stuff. It's like, just like a clapper or whatever, or like almost like a metronome. I always do that in my music, where I just have like something on the beat. All right, cool. So then I know I've got that bit, and I know there's a break later on because I listened to it in the record store. It's around here. So yeah, I listened through. I know this break's quite long, so I'm not going to be able to do all of it, but listen through to all of this break, and then I'll go through and like cut up the bits that I think kind of lend itself to like a danceable rhythm, something I can like make into a club tune, basically. Because all this stuff's a little bit like free jazz at the moment, which is, you know, in some contexts really fun, but not really what I'm looking for. There we go, that's a bit better. So yeah, I'm looking for more like stable rhythms within the break. I'm also just writing down when bits I like, the bar numbers on here, when they're appearing. It's got 91, 103, 109. I mean, all of this is nice. And when you sample from vinyl, you immediately just get so much like texture. An amazing product, like it's all been run through like really expensive like compressors and mixing desks usually, so it just goes really nice, warm, and sometimes recorded to tape as well, so you just got this really nice warm sound, which just lacks in a lot of sample packs. Right, there we go. So 91, 103, 109. So let me go through. That was the bit I liked. Okay, I'll try and be a bit speedy, so I won't be delicate in any way. 103 and then 109. Okay, then I'm like, then I basically try and get it in time. Which takes a little bit of, there we go. Basically just warp it so roughly, because it wouldn't have been recorded to a click, this break. So like, which is what makes it really nice when it's actually in a track, because there are bits which just aren't dead on time. But just trying to get the beats on the bars on time, that's quite important. So the kick lines up basically. But that's now in time, which is cool. So that's like a little loop. And this is the other bit. You can see the tempo I did in the other one was 130.3, so I can kind of do the same thing in the other clips now, and hopefully they roughly match up. So that's pretty much that, and then do the same here. So yeah, just doing a little bit of warping on this one because it's a little bit more wild. Okay, so we have a few drum clips to work with, and there's plenty more that can be extracted, and like I can't do everything within the time frame that I would normally do on a track here, but I think just to demonstrate, now starting to try and add, now we've sampled something from a record, got it in time, it's now about like trying to find sounds that go with that and trying to, you know, basically put in, there's a lot of space with bass in here, that's the like most obvious thing, is like getting a big bass under it, and getting a kick under it, so it can, those two elements will immediately, should turn that more clubby than it currently is, because it's such an amazing like rhythms. Now we want to make it, yeah, club ready. So I mean, I don't have a set place of where I go really for kicks or anything. Actually, I do have this kick pack Bonobo gave me once, which is really good. So Bonobo actually gave me a kick pack once, which has all these really nice, it's called Toto Chiavetta kicks. So don't really know where that's from, but they're really cool. I quite like this one called Best Latest Kick, because it's just quite a nice, it's not too long or anything, so it usually just fits into most things. But with the kicks, I always sort of go in and change them to try and fit the sound. I think it's not one size fits all with kicks and bass with samples. So you kind of it's a matter of just playing around with it until it sounds right, really. So I mean, that's immediately, just with a kick, suddenly just like immediately clubby, I think. And then bass, there's a plugin which I recently got called Quake, which is a pretty good like 808 plugin. I think it's going to be. So, I mean, it's got loads of different, it's got 808s and donks and Reese's, and it's a cool plugin though. So I'd probably just go through and try and play some stuff along to it. I also find like the bass lines for this sort of stuff I do are so simple. Sometimes they are just one note, like they'll just be one sustained note, and that note will just keep doing stuff. But I'm going to try 3 notes, I think, for this one because I quite like what just happened there. So really, really simple. You honestly don't need any musical. Also, I think an important thing to say is I don't know if anything's actually any good when I'm making it. I think you just kind of got to get stuff out, not think about it too much, and, you know, play it to a few mates after you've made it and then see if it's good, rather than worrying about if it's good when you're doing it. I think you kind of just got to enjoy it when you're doing it, and just, yeah. So that's kind of how I would do things, because you can easily, if someone's like, that bass is terrible, tomorrow I can just go in and change it really easily or whatever. So I think it's just like initially getting stuff out and not over complicating it. So now I feel like some Bale funky kind of rhythmic stuff would work with that as well. Something like this, I feel like. So you can just go into sample, but I just, you know. Yeah, I mean that I didn't expect that to just work so well. Sometimes you just drag stuff in, you're like, okay, that just works. Again, no reason to overcomplicate anything. I think at the end of this phrase, it had a bit of the drum break had that in, so I think I'm going to throw that in the last bit of the 4 bars, 8 bars, what is it? 4 bars. That's pretty cool. So a little bit of variation. You can kind of just chop up that break to like progress the track. But for now, we're still kind of in like building what the loop is. I might actually try some claps as well. Quite like that. It adds a tiny bit more energy. Again, I kind of maximize everything. I throw a load of stuff in at the start and then kind of refine it as stuff goes along. I'm going to save this quickly as well. I usually just name my projects whatever the thing I sample is. I'll put music radar. So yeah, I think like doing some vocal chops now to got the loop, and I think some vocal chops would just bring it to life a bit more, make it, you know, a bit more. So I've dragged in this Christiana Milian, Dip It Low. I don't know who this is, but I think they're a big R&B artist, but there's some like Pop
that thing. I'ma show you how to make your man say, oh, dale baby, you know. Trépate aquí y menéate slow. Enúate, me dame un show.
Okay, so this is like really experimenting because I don't know if it will really work, but I'm just going to try and chop some phrases so they're not even like, can't really tell what he's even saying in it, but just see what sounds good.
Trépate aquí y menéate slow. Enúate y me dame un show. Bailándome maya al son del no. Son del dándome maya al son del dembow. Tu amiga te dijo que yo era cool. Dale, chequeame tú. Llévame a tu cama pa' meterme maya al oh. Tu cama pa' meterte full. Cama pa' meter.
I'm not even like, not that I can understand what he's saying anyway, but like I'm sort of ignoring like what the words would be and just almost just chopping the words rhythmically as if they were percussion. I feel like Skrillex does this really well. He did it and a lot in his that mixtape album thing, which is called like Fuck You Skrillex, You're Not Andy Warhol. But there's loads of interesting stuff in that. But like he chops, I really like the vocal chopping in it. I mean, there's insane production as well, but the vocal chopping can make something which is just like a techno-y kind of beat or whatever, and then give it that like, just like extra, I don't know, freshness. So that's kind of one. Trying to achieve a similar thing.
Tu amiga te dijo que yo era cool, dale. Oh, tu amiga te dijo que yo era cool, dale, chequeame tú. Chequeame. Dale, chequea. Dale, chequea. Dale, chequea.
All of this is kind of done by ear and might not be good. Like everything I do is kind of like just throw stuff in and can kind of always go back and tinker later, but let's just see if this kind of works. I mean, this isn't perfect, but it's kind of, you can kind of just keep messing with it as well, throwing effects in it. You know what I mean? It can kind of like, it gives it a bit more of a, I don't know, a bit more character. It makes it its own thing. So yeah, that is generally how I start an idea, and then you would kind of figure out how that loop would build up and drop. I mean, building up is usually just taking all the bass out, and then, or I do this thing where I, you take the bass and then you put it up an octave before it drops, and then maybe you have some of the I have this like, I don't know who made this. Oh wait, I do know who made this. I think Audio Tent, who are this, do you know Audio Tent? Oh, yeah, they make this thing called Axis Effects, and they're just these like Ableton effects, but they're so handy. And one of them is Axis Lead, but it's got this washout function on, which I feel like every time I show this to someone, they just end up using it on everything, and I end up using it on everything, because basically you can kind of just get an idea, and then the washout just kind of does like an automatic build up with just like one knob. And you can kind of just like, something else I always put on is this like Abbey Road mastering thing. It just makes everything sound way better right at the start. Master, glue and punch, but it's pretty like, you need to tone it down a bit, but it glues everything together. And then what I do, I really like that. I don't know if you guys like that, but right now my ego is either telling me that's good or it is good. Either way, I'm going to keep working on it. But I would then loop, I'd get the bass, so we've got this, which is very cool. And then I'm going to put that MIDI into an external MIDI channel and send it out to this Moog Mother 32, and then record the bass through this and not replace what we have, because what we have has a way cleaner, better 808 than I think this could do. But what this can do is add these like mental harmonics, the way it's like set up here, and then it's also run through the Kaoss Pad. You'll see what I mean when we start doing it. All right, so yeah, so I did the bass originally on MIDI here, but now I'm going to send the MIDI from the computer into the Moog Mother 32, which is sort of a, well, semi-modular analog synthesizer is what they're calling it. But it's really good for basses, I think, basically. It's actually good for ARPs as well. I'm going to send out the bass MIDI, which we recorded the bass in those really simple 3 notes just going up. And we're going to put that, run the MIDI through this Moog Mother 32. So this is going to output then sound into this Kaoss Pad, which can do some mental stuff basically. So if we press play on it, so this is now the Moog. So I've got control of the synth here. Can start to do some crazier stuff like that. You know, that immediately, I mean, it sounds like it would take loads of programming or whatever, and it probably would if you weren't just like, you know, messing around with 2 bits of gear set up in that way. But it's really fun to suddenly make a bass line feel alive. So I'm just gonna basically record some stuff now. From the bass and just okay, well that sounded bad. Some of it sounds terrible, you know? But then that one sounded cool. All right, so now there's basically a load of like the same bass part, but layered, should sound kind of wild. So this is is now layered with the original MIDI. I'm probably going to take some of the bass out of what I just recorded. That's just like, to me, just sounding way more interesting. So with everything out, and then I'll put the little, another thing I always just add in, just like kind of a cheat code. I suppose there are things, sometimes I think everything I do is random and it's actually not. There are certain, this riser, which is, I made that with my modular ages ago. Just use it in so many tracks. But that's there, and then I'm going to put that with, and then I'm going to, with this Audio 10 Axis plugin. Hopefully they'll send me their stuff for free now. I like when I shout people out, and it's like, gotta shout out more companies. Okay. Okay, that vocal's now starting to do some more mental stuff because I haven't edited it. But yeah, I mean, that to me is starting to sound like quite a cool, like clubby idea. And it's really fun just to like, you know, I didn't really have any plan for that. 5 minutes before this sort of session, I kind of knew there was a break on this record, and I go through it. I spend a lot of my time like sort of cataloging samples. So I have a big Spotify folder of like samples, and then of loads of records I buy, and then I listen through to them. And I don't know if there's sleeves over here. Sorry, I know I've just gone out of shot. But I basically will like make a note when I'm listening to records in my living room. When if I'm like cooking or playing FIFA or cleaning and listening to records, it's a great time to sort of work whilst you're not actually working. So every time I hear a sample, I will then make a note on a sticky note, and just, it's a really easy way. So I don't have to immediately sample it then, I can just come back to it like I've done with this now. So yeah, it's kind of all chaos, but it's really fun. So I've opened up a finished track now, which is my next single, which is called Sekete, with a Ugandan MC called Swordman Katala, who I met at a festival in Uganda probably 10 or 11 years ago now. But he has an incredible voice, super like deep and guttural, and like really lends itself to heavy dance music. But anyway, it kind of like, I guess this track started in a similar way to the idea I was just sort of trying to make on the spot. In that the first thing I think the track started with is this drum break. This has got quite a lot of effects on and like filters. You can see the filter sweep kind of happening. I think that's the move out of the way. It's got OTT on it, which is this really heavy multi-band compression, which crushes everything together, keeps it in a small frequency space. It's got soothe, which takes out all the like harsh frequencies. It's got a flanger on, and track spacer. This thing is great. It's like a sidechain compression, but I don't actually think it compresses it. It ducks out the sound. It's really good, and it can help get cleaner sounds. So I've probably just might have sidechained that to the vocal or something. So yeah, if we put everything else in, so that drum break, if we play it with everything else, you know, you can hear the vocal and the bass. But yeah, there's I'll be honest, usually with finished tracks, they start in one project and then I bounce a load of stuff and they go into another project. So I think a lot of this is actually bounces from another project. Yeah, all right, so here's the bass, which is a bounce, but I think it was made with Splice's plugin called Astra, and it had a really deep, this like really cool bass. I think I like slightly changed one of the presets, but yeah, and then I think there is a drum sample from, so just like some garagey thing, drum loop, and yeah, that would have been the loop for a while, and then I basically made a loop like I did in the last one, and then sent the project to my friend Tom Blip, who was with Swordman Katala in London, and then they recorded the vocal ideas over it, and then sent them back to me, and then I put them in, and then I think like the trick of making like a loop into a full track is really just keep adding stuff and expanding stuff, and if there's too much stuff added at once, then you just, you know, try and structure it out and then keep writing different bits for it. And with this tune, I actually didn't think, the first bass I like love when it drops in, it like really impactful, but then I didn't want to do the same thing for the second drop, so I actually have a completely different bass for the second drop. So the track kind of plays with that bass, and the vocal goes over it. But halfway through, it kind of goes around here. So there's this breakdown. Everything kind of drops out, apart from a bit of percussion. And then a completely different bass part comes in. So that bass part is just doing more, and I think the way I basically, people always say this when I send, like my friends always say this when I send them ideas, it's like sometimes they're like, oh, your tune sounds like two different ideas stuck together, and sometimes to get out of that loop, I take the drums and the vocal and then just go, okay, well, let's just write a different bass part. And then sometimes it ends up being just the whole second half, or it can be a B section. I think, yeah, it's just trying to get the full track from the loop is to keep, yeah, first of all, extend it and then listen to it. And then you realize when you're bored by it, and then you're like, well, when I'm bored by it, this section, I need to add something to it. So either more percussion, another vocal chop, or whatever. But yeah, in this case, I just completely changed the bass halfway through, which is probably quite unorthodox, but I thought it was just really fun to just change the bass, and it kind of gives a slightly different vibe. It's a bit more like bouncy, this, compared to yeah, that's a bit like straighter. I mean, this tune's not released yet, so it could, you know, who knows if people are going to like it. But I think that's, I think it's just a good technique to just keep trying different parts out with the bits you like. So say you've got, oh, okay, these drums are great, this vocal's great. Keep trying different bass parts, or different, if there's another track, different chords or different samples, and sometimes you're like, oh, that one suddenly works really well. Okay, so another thing to make an initial loop idea kind of more interesting is fills, and it's like being done so creatively and well in loads of like garage music at the moment. Some of the fills before drops are like so fun, and I took influence from that for this, to try and, so we listen to this bit. Yeah, it just has that little bit at the end, that little detail which kind of freshens up the loop. So it's kind of like tricking people because it's got the loop, and then the loop just comes after. But between that moment, you do something a little creative and fun, and then maybe when it drops as an extra, the vocal comes in properly after this. But if that didn't happen, you could have like, I don't know, more percussion, or it could just be like a change in energy after you have these little fills. And I think the use of like building percussion is quite an obvious but great way of continuing the same idea, but to make it appear like it has more energy. Well, it does have more energy. But yeah, those fills are super fun to do as well. And if we just go to that, I think this is actually from, I think this is from a Music Radar sample pack, which are great. I think it's from like a Crate Digger. Do you know that pack, the Crate Digger packs?
I think.
But it's got some great stuff in, and this sounds in it. Really cool. It sounds like it's like a sample from vinyl, and then there's just that like hand clap at the end. I do record my own sound. I have a mic up there recording hand claps and occasionally like cowbells and whatever. And then what else happens? Oh yeah, the bass thing as well, which I did in the last thing. So yeah, here we go. These like harmonics added to the bass. This is run through a Korg MS-20, which isn't here. It's at I have like kind of another studio in my parents' house. This is where I first started making music, and I've never finished moving all the gear out of there. To be honest, I quite like having a country, sort of a space not in a city as well. But yeah, this is run through the MS-20, which is like a original one, and it's you use the filters to do those resonant sweeps, and then it adds it just adds life to the bass, and it makes it more interesting, and it's almost like the listener's not super aware that it's happening, because it's kind of just sort of background noise in a way. But I think the details make it sound, it's constantly evolving and kind of live, and it gives, I think electronic music, you have to try and think, how am I making this more live and more human? And I think sampling from vinyl, where you get those real sounds run through like the real analog equipment, and then you do stuff like this, and you're playing with it live, and it's all in the track. It's not heavily edited. It's kind of just how I've done it, and I really think that helps bring stuff into the more human realm, I guess, from just it sounding a bit robotic and whatever.